So a little bit more than 2 months ago, I have shared a video where I have shown how we can extract information from any PDF documents. It could be structured or unstructured. It could be scanned or native. Literally any PDF file can be extracted using a simple activity called AskGPT. Now, if you haven't watched that video, I will advise you to go back and watch it because it's going to be the foundation of what we are going to do today. So today we are going to create a resume screening process that will help us go from an unstructured CV document, literally just the random CVs, to a structured data table inside of our Excel sheet with the information that we want. So we are going to start with reading the CVs, and then we are going to create the prompts that will help us extract the information that we want from the CVs. Then we are going to export that information and put it inside a table in an Excel sheet. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do before creating our UiPath process is to show you the CVs that we are going to work with. So here I have 5 different CVs. They are even on multiple pages, and they are completely different CVs. Completely different. They don't look like each other. There is not the same information. So they are completely different. Note that we can actually read these CVs, but if they are scanned, if they are an image in form of PDF, our process is still going to work. It's basically going to work the same way. So you don't have to worry about that. If you have a scanned document, if you have a scanned CV, it's okay, it's going to work. Now let's go back to UiPath and create our process. Let's call it Resume Screener. Let's click on Open Main Workflow. And here, as always, let's go to Manage Packages. Let's go to All Packages. And here, we are going to search for Intelligent OCR. So this is going to be UiPath.Intelligent OCR.Activities. It's going the first one that we are going to install. And then let's search for Internal Labs.GPT, which is going to be the second activity that we are going to download, internal labs.gpt.activities. Make sure that it is from internal labs. So let's click on install and let's click on save. Okay, so it has been saved correctly. Now what we are going to do is go and create a variable. Let's call it resume folder. And we are going to use an assign activity. Let's put resume folder in here. And let's go to the folder where we have our CVs. This folder, let's click in here and copy the path of this folder. And come back here, and inside double quotes, we are going to paste the path to our folder. Now let's go back here and search for the activity digitize documents. So we are going to digitize our documents. And of course, we are going to put this inside of for each file activity. So for each file in folder, let's put it inside here. We are going to put the digitize inside of this activity for each file in folder. So we are going to go through every CV that we have in this folder. So we're going to go through resume folder variable that we have just created in here. And we want to filter by PDF. Let's say, for example, we only want to read the PDFs from that file. If, for example, we have Excel sheets or any type of documents, we don't want to read them. To do this, we need to put double quotes in here in the filter attribute. Here we have a star and then .pdf. Good. Now we are going to read the document path is going to be the current file that we have here, because the current file is going to take the value that we have every time. And of course, the current file is a file info. So we have to have the current file dot full name. This is what's going to give us the file path to the current file. And then in the output, we are going to have the document text, which is going to be, let's create a new file by, let's create a new variable by clicking on Control K. And the document text, let's call it text or resume text. Good. Click on Enter. So now we read the file and then we extract the text from it. So even if the file is, even if the resume is scanned, we literally gonna take the text out of that resume using the OCR, UiPath Documents OCR. We don't need to change anything in here because the API key is already present inside of the UiPath Documents OCR. So we don't need to touch this. Good. Now that we are sure that we have the text, what we need to do now is basically use the activity AskGPT. So now we will use the activity AskGPT. So we are going to place it in here. We are going to provide the text that we have just created. So resume text inside of the text that we have. And in the question list, we are going to create a new variable. Let's call it question list. So as always, Control K to create the variable. And that's it. The variable is going to be created and it's going to be an array of strings. And what we need to do is to assign a value to this variable. So we need to assign the question that we are going to ask. And now we are going to go to the second step where we are going to create the prompt that we are going to use in order to extract the data that we want. So here we are going to go to the CVs and we are going to see the data that we want to extract from the CVs. So the first thing, it should be the name. Then the second thing that we are going to extract is going to be the phone number, so the mobile number. The third thing that we are going to extract is the email, then the physical address if they have one. And then we are going to extract, let's say, the title of their latest job, just to make sure that the robots can extract data from here, not just from the header, for example. So as we have just said, we are going to extract all of these information. So let's create a prompt that will help us to create this information. So here, let's say, for example, extract name, phone number, email, physical address, and title of the latest job. Okay, now we have the information that we need to extract, but we have to instruct it. We have to give it instruction on the format of the output of the answer that it will give us. So we can use this format in order to split the answer to get the name, the phone, the email, the physical address, etc. And give me an answer where every information is separated by a pipe, for example, by pipe or vertical bar. So this separator, because we have to make sure that there is a good enough separator. So for example, if we have a separator, there is a comma, maybe we'll have a comma inside of the information of the physical address, for example. So we have to make sure that the separator is distinguished and unique. In this case, is a pipe, which is not going to be present inside of the information that we want. So yeah, let's copy this information. Let's copy this prompt, and let's go back to UiPath, and then let's go to variables, and inside of default, let's place a semicolon. Let's place some accolades and close it. And then inside double quotes, we are going to paste the prompt that we have just created. Let's click on Control S for save. And now let's have a message box to check if we have the right answer or not. So here, we're going to go to AskGPT before the message box. We're going to go to AskGPT. We are going to basically have a new variable. So let's go in the response list. Let's click on Control K. And this variable is going to be, let's call it response list. Good. Let's go to variables. This response list is going to be a list of dictionaries. It's really important to know the type. And we want to see the output of the AskGPT inside of the message box. So here, let's put the response list. Of course, it's going to be the first element because we have one question. And then inside of this first element, we will have the attribute answer, as we already explained in the latest video. And then this attribute is the one that we are going to visualize. So here, .toString. That's good. Okay, so now everything is ready and we can launch the process for the first time. So now we just want to visualize the answer and see if everything is working correctly before exporting the value and putting it inside an Excel sheet. So I debug the process. And as you can see, it's perfect. So we have the name in here, the mobile number, the email, the physical address. It's not complete, but maybe this is the model found inside of the CV. But it understood it is a physical address and the title of the latest job. So let's go and check if this information is correct. So as you can see here, the name is correct, the mobile number is correct, the email as well. Then I can't see anything that says the physical address. So it's something that we have to look for inside of the CV of the resume. So mostly, I think it's got information from here. Since the person has been working in Singapore for so long, it's considered that Singapore is actually the physical address of this person. So yeah, everything seems correct. And part-time research associate, this is the exact title of the person in their latest job. So let's click on OK and see if it can do the same thing for the second CV, the second resume. Okay, we got an answer. And here, as we can see, let's go to the second CV. And here we can find Olivia. Great. It took the name, the mobile number, the email. There is no physical address of the person. Understandable. Singapore, but it's not. There is no physical address of the person. Understandable. There is no address in here. And then the title of the latest job is Manager, Regulatory Advisory Services. So Manager, Regulatory Advisory Services. Okay, that sounds very good. Let's click on OK and see if it can do the same thing for the third CV before going back to the process and start doing our work. So third CV. Name, number, email, always no physical address, risk assurance, assistant manager, governance, risk and controls. Let's see if this is true. Risk assurance, assistant manager, governance, risk and control. So it's really good. The model have actually extracted everything as it should. Maybe it could do a better job on the physical address, but since it doesn't have anything that says a physical address or address of the person, that means that it couldn't find it, which is also, I can consider it as to be correct. So let's go back to the process and stop it. And now we're going to go to the third part, to the latest part, where we're going to export our data and put it inside an Excel sheet. Okay, so let's delete the message box from here because we're not going to need it anymore. Let's go to variables and let's create a new variable and let's call it resume data table or resume DT, like this. Let's choose the variable type data table and let's choose the scope main sequence just to make sure it's visible in the whole process. Let's collapse this and let's drag and drop the new activity called build data table. Let's click on data table in here. Let's delete this row and let's delete this row as well. Let's modify the column 1 to be name. Let's go back here just to make sure that we are doing the right thing. So we have name, phone number, email, address, and title, job title. So name, phone, we have email, address, and then we have job title. Good. Let's click on OK. And here, let's go to properties. And then let's put resume data table in here. So this data table will take this structure that we have just defined inside of the build data table activity. Okay, now what we need to do is drag and drop an activity called add data row in here. And then the data table, of course, is going to be resume data table. And then in the array row, we will have the response list. First element of the response list. Of course, it's going to be answer in here with a lowercase. Everything is lowercase. And then we are going to have a toString just to make sure. And then we are going to have a function called split, just so that we can split everything with the symbol pipe. And then we will have a C because that's one character. And this is the syntax for split. So I'm going to make sure just to make you see this clearly. So that's just string that split. Then we are going to split according to the separator with a C in here because it's one character. Let's click on OK. And now we basically are adding the data row. And we are going to let this run. And once this finishes, we need to visualize if the data has been added correctly to the data table. So for this, we are going to use an activity called output data table. This is before exporting it to the Excel sheet, just to make sure that everything is working before we can create an Excel sheet and put the table inside of it. So here we will have a data table, and let's go to properties as well. The data table is going to be resume data table. And here we are going to create a new variable. Let's call it text data table. Good. Control K as well. And now we are going to show this text inside of message box. So text data table it's going to be inside this message box just to make sure that to visualize this data table that we have just added this data to. So let's run the file and see how it's going to work. Okay, so the process has finished, and as you can see, this is our data and it looks correct, except for some double quotes in here. Of course, the data is not going to be perfect. It has been extracted by a generative AI. So yeah, so everything looks good. I think it's good to go, and it's better now to visualize it inside an Excel sheet. So let's put it inside an Excel sheet. So to do this, let's delete these output data table and message box. We're not going to need them anymore. And let's use the simplest activity to do this, which is the write range workbook. So we're not going to use the write data table to Excel or whatever. We are going to use the simplest activity. I like to keep my tutorials simple, just for you to get the simplest way to do things. So here we are going to write inside of the folder, the folder that we have where we have the CVs, just to make it to keep it simple. So resume folder in here, we are going to have a plus to concatenate, and then we are going to have a backslash, and let's call the workbook, let's call it something like, let's say resume, for example, resume.excel SX. Good. So this is the syntax as for you if you want to reproduce it. Sheet name, let's call it resume. And then the data table, of course, is going to be resume data table that we are going to write. So now let's run the file. Before running the file, let's click on cancel. We need to add the headers just to make sure that in properties, you're adding the header just in case, so that we have a full table with the headers and everything. So let's run the file now. Good. So the process has finished in 36 seconds. Not too bad, given the fact that it's using AI models in the background and even OCR in this case. So let's go here and let's go to the CV folder. We can see that we have a new Excel sheet called resume that has been added. So let's open it. And as you can see, we have the data in here. And let's auto. And as you can see, the names looks correct. The phone numbers as well. The emails, they look correct as well. The addresses looks correct. We even have a full address in here. And the job titles, we already established that they are correct. So as you can see, so we have created a robot to do CV screening where we are not using more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 activities. That's like the easiest CV screening process you can ever create. It's not even 7 activities, and it's so easy to create. So now let's actually talk about it. Can you do this in production? Can you do this for actual clients? I would not advise you to do so, because this is not a way to actually create professional projects. If you want to do extraction of data, I would say that you should use something like document understanding, which is a topic that I will cover in the future, because document understanding gives you the ability to train your models, and you can actually visualize your models. If the model is not 100% sure or 90% sure, it can quantify it, and it can give you a window where you can actually validate or not the extraction. Using this method, you can't actually control this. It will give you an answer. You can't control it. You can't train it. There is no interaction that you have with the model behind it. So I would say this is like a starting point, just to show your clients, or just to basically know the capabilities of the tool and how easy it is. We can do data extraction using UiPath, but I would not advise you to go as far as doing it in production today. At some point, it will be the case, but not today, not this way. So document understanding is more suitable for professional projects, where it should be more like a proof of concept or something you will do quickly if you want not a perfect data, but a good enough data to work with, a good enough extraction to work with. So yeah, that's the point I wanted to make at the end. And yeah, of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, because I'm going to be launching videos similar to this. And yeah, catch you guys on the next one. Peace.